$200 million, 10 years,
Right.
40 projects. Andy Hanshaw, Executive Director with the San Diego County Bicycle Coalition. We've been around since 1987 as the regional nonprofit that advocates for cyclist rights and better bikeways and better biking infrastructure. That's sort of, we advocate, educate, and celebrate. That's what we kind of say.
Right.
So those
You're
are
the
sort of our
voice for
three.
San Diego cyclists.
Yeah, a voice for cyclists. But
right.
a lot of what we also do is education and getting people more comfortable and confident on bikes.
Right.
Getting more people to ride is a big part of what we would do. The encouragement piece, which
Right.
can't really have. You can have the encouragement piece, but you've got to have the infrastructure piece too. So people, it's well known that people aren't really feeling. If they're not feeling safe, they're not going to ride.
Right.
And you know this.
Right.
So we promote. So we show up at any meeting we can, or we follow bike plans, and we follow funding for bike improvements all over the county.
Right.
So 18 cities in the county. So you figure the cities, Sandag, who's sort of an organization of all those cities, and they actually have they run the regional bike plan.
Correct.
And a part of that plan is a $200 million early action program investment. So,
and that's kind of what they're doing now. So
we're kind of midstream on that 10-year commitment, and sort of one of our key messages this whole year is, where are we on the early action program?
Yeah.
And how do we accelerate progress on these projects that are going to get more people riding?
Right.
And these are the types of projects that have, cycle tracks and safer bike lanes. Not, your standard bike lanes aren't really working for everyday riding.
Right.
It's
just a little white line sometimes.
The weekend warriors, the road folks, the folks that have been riding a long time, or the people that sort of get themselves confident enough to ride in bike lanes up the coast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those people.
Yeah.
But it's a very small percentage of sort of the overall goal of ridership, and the people who would ride. So they call those the 1%ers.
True. True.
And there's the studies at Sandag have said, there's a 60% of the population that would ride if it were safer to do so.
True.
So their whole target audience for what they're implementing for bikeways is that 60%.
And are they wanting to put like a barrier up?
So if you look at the regional bike map, and I'll get you some maps before you go.
Right.
You'll see the sort of current bike lanes, proposed bike lanes. So as part of these early action program projects, and there's 40 on that list.
That's a lot.
Yeah, most of those are what I would say most, but a good handful of ones starting out are class 1s, which are either separate bike lanes or paths, or class 4, which are protected with a sort of a physical barrier.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of examples of class 4 in this community yet.
Right, of the barriers.
Correct.
Right.
Raised curbs. Sometimes they'll park cars on the outside of the bike lane to protect them. That's one way to do it. So they created this classification called class 4 for those types of facilities.
Right.
Now, several projects are in the hopper through that early action program for those types of bike lanes. So there's the Bayshore Bikeway.
That one turned out really good.
And it's a work in progress. Like, the whole plan of this is to bring this to a 25-mile, sort of separated bike path all the way around. So right now they're actually working in 2 segments, National City.
Right.
Working on that, and then Barrio Logan's going to happen too. So.
Wow.
They made the improvements in IB.
Yeah, that is really cool. That
this
whole
is all
ride.
really nice now.
It is,
and they did a Chula Vista section not that long ago that's fixed. So the last 2 sort of segments are sort of connecting, National City to downtown.
Right. Okay.
And they're making progress on those. So within 2 years, we hope to have this whole thing done.
And then they're building that new one down on Santa Fe Street.
Yeah.
With that whole trolley
Yeah,
and
with
bike
the-
path connection they're
correct.
doing there,
And
right, which is massive.
The trolley extension
Right.
project. And,
All the way up into UCSD.
right. And then there's a North Coast project, Cardiff, all the way up to Oceanside. So
To create like a whole bike lane?
It's my territory.
Yeah,
So-
there are so many riders
Right,
on
so-
Highway
yeah,
1.
And so the North Coast Corridor project's a whole Sandag, sort of focus on expanding vehicle capacity with HOV lanes and stuff. But as a
Right.
part of that project, there's going to be a separated
This is
bikeway.
going to be longer than a 10-year project.
Yeah, well, that is.
Yeah,
That's the North Coast Corridor project's a much longer thing, but
Yeah.
there's the other couple big pieces that have happened in the last couple of years is the city of San Diego passed a climate action plan last year.
Okay.
It's a huge deal. So the idea that the city took a big step nationally to make a statement that says we're holding ourselves accountable to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and get more people biking, walking, taking transit.
Okay.
So, and the bike commuter goal, 6% commuting mode share by bike by 2020. We've been hovering around 1 for a long, long time. It tells you right there, like, a lot has to happen.
In the next 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. By 2035, it's 18%.
Holy. That's
So,
huge.
That's huge, and that's good for, it's certainly good for business, and it's
Right.
certainly good for
Cool.
shifting modes, and they're really trying to balance cars, bikes, transit, between getting it to be more balanced.
Right.
But and as I just said before, it has to be about infrastructure first in order
Right.
to get people riding, right?
Right.
So while that sort of is a map and a plan to get more people riding, there has to be projects and priorities for the city to fund, the bikeways and
the roads.
the roads for everyone to do those things.
Right.
And improve transit.
Because our roads are rough right now. They're
Yep.
pretty challenging.
They're very challenging.
Yeah.
Especially after all these rains.
Oh, it's made it worse. Yeah.
So, climate action plan, so regional bike plan,
Right.
climate action plan, downtown mobility plan.
Yes.
The other big thing that happened last year was the city approved a $65 million downtown mobility plan. So their projections and forecasts for people living downtown are triple what they are now by
25, isn't it?
2025.
Because they're expecting larger cities to be
Nine-
like
yeah.
mega cities.
Yeah, 90,000 residents downtown by like 2025. There's 30,000 now.
Oh, okay.
Employees are also going to double from like 70 to 140,000.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, so you can't expect to have all those people down here driving around looking for parking.
Right.
And it's not good for climate and environment and all that stuff. So they actually put a plan forward to build a bikeway network downtown, and there really isn't much for bike lanes right now downtown.
We have a few green
Yeah,
lanes, but that's
not much.
right.
So there's a grid, a plan, a connected 9-mile network of the mostly class 4 protected bike lanes that I talked about.
Okay.
So that's going to get people biking to their jobs, to their restaurants, to their where they live in urban living downtown,
Right.
without the use of a car. And that was a big priority for them. So to me, I think that's one of the most important developments that's happened since I've been here.
Right.
You take that downtown plan,
Uh-huh.
there are some of those Sandag regional plans that surround downtown
Okay.
that ultimately should connect as well. So now you're not just talking about downtown having a network of bike lanes. You're talking about connections to North Park, Balboa Park, Hillcrest, Uptown. Fast forward in 2 to 3 years, I think the landscape's going to look completely different.
Okay.
And especially in the urban communities of downtown and sort of the mid-city urban
Right.
areas
Right.
and central business district, things will look very different.
And then they'll work on the coastal.
Yeah, at the same time, the Bayshore Bikeways should be close to completion. Coastal access should be better.
Do you think that will be catching us up to cities like, Portland
Yeah,
and Minnesota
yeah.
and,
I'm
I mean, they just have,
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, because-
we've been lagging in sort of that national list.
We are, and we're one of the most beautiful cities, in my opinion.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
so I have different opinions on that. But one is, until that infrastructure is really there, you know, we're not going to get that recognition that we deserve. We should be getting recognition for, you know, year-round riding, good climate, but we need those facilities.
We do, because I was just out in Minnesota in October.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Rail to Trails
Yeah.
pass.
Yeah.
Then I was in Indiana for a conference
Yeah.
in Indianapolis.
Yeah, good city.
I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course Oregon, hello.
Yeah,
you know.
Portland. So we should, you know, I would hope that we crack that list.
I really
When
hope
all
so
this
too.
stuff goes
I mean,
in.
we're behind, and we should have been.
And you know, the other thing is you know, these things need political support as much as they need, you know, the infrastructure. So
Well, they've got to have the political.
we've got to have the political support and the commitment to make changes that need to happen and move them along.
So does the city? What sounds like? I mean, the mayor and everybody else does feel like they're behind this and want to do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the mayor touts that climate plan all the time. I will say that, you know, from an awareness standpoint, for more people riding just because it's nice and sort of the advocacy movement that's gotten a lot of messaging out there, that I think there's a lot more awareness and sort of road respect
There's got to be a balance.
amongst driving in
Right.
cars. I just don't, you know, I always say this, it's like, I haven't been honked at in years, and I don't, you know, I just don't see that sort of behavior as much.
What about also the, and you were talking about this earlier, which, okay, you and I are both cyclists and we're in this industry, and I see cyclists not follow the laws
Sure.
and not follow the rules, which causes a bad reputation, unfortunately,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
cycling. So
Yeah.
how do you blend that in for helping with the education?
Yeah.
It's like we got to follow the laws. You can't run red lights and stop signs and not
I mean,
piss off people.
Yeah, and rules of the road apply to everybody.
Right.
Again, you know, you can't, you know, we always advocate for lawful bike riding, and, you know.
The respect's got to go both ways.
Yeah, and it also keeps you safer if you're
Right.
following. I mean, it's just like driving a car. If you're following the laws, you're not going to get in a crash,
Right.
Or you
Right.
shouldn't be getting in a crash. And
Right.
it's for your own good. So everybody needs to do that. And,
Yeah.
and cars need to be respectful, and bicyclists
Bicyclists need
can't,
to be
you know.
respectful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
The city's credit, what I will say, even though we don't have a lot of this stuff in yet,
it's coming.
it is coming, and what they've also done on their own, and with our admiration, is they've taken, the mayor had a 5-year plan to resurface 1,000 miles of streets because the streets are
So bad.
So while they're resurfacing, we're asking them to repurpose bike streets because we have so many wide streets that were designed for moving cars only.
Right.
So the city is actually taking the bike plan that they have, the bike master plan, and they put it over this resurfacing plan, and they're looking at roads and doing paint treatments. So taking 3-lane roads and making them 2-lane roads.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I
Or
didn't know
taking
that.
4-lane roads and making them 2-lane roads and adding wider bike lanes.
That's great.
And they've done a lot of that, and that's sort of the low-hanging fruit,
Right.
you know, because
Right.
it's just paint.
Right.
But it's a good plan, and we like it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, it's not the safest bike lane, but
Right.
it's an improvement. And,
Compared to the little
yeah,
lanes.
and ideally it'll slow traffic down. $200 million, 10 years,
Right.
40 projects.